Oh my God, here we go. Let's try again. All right, that's better. I know you have a video on the other platforms. We are talking about how the industry is changing. These are my top predictions because the health and fitness industry is not the way it once was, and things are going to change, especially with new technologies and softwares such as ChatGPT, with smart mirrors. You may have seen that Lululemon bought a smart mirror which allows you to work out and see yourself in real time and have fitness be delivered via that mirror. So that's an interesting technique. That's an interesting technology. Obviously, the health and fitness industry has somewhat peaked with, social media, making it really, really popular and really in fashion to be fit and healthy, quote unquote, fit and healthy. Now technologies are keeping up with the latest trends, technologies, and integrations. There's some shifts that we are going to see. And I posted 2 days ago. The post did really well. It was quite popular. I got a bit of interaction. So I wanted to elaborate on that and have a little discussion on where things are going. With Zoom and video becoming more and more readily available and used, I really feel that coaches are going to be sought after. Well established coaches who have a track record of working with people and getting clients amazing results. Their location is going to become increasingly irrelevant. And for some time, you may have seen figure competitors, bikini athletes having coaches. Most instances, people who work with a coach for figure competitions and bodybuilding, their coach is more often than not in a different part of the world. Even if in the same country, they might be in a different city. And that's because these coaches are very, very sought after. If they have a track record of getting people really great results, the fact that they don't live in the same city as you is quite irrelevant. And I feel that this is going to become increasingly popular for quote unquote Gen Pop because people want to work with people who can get them results. People have less of a bandwidth to travel to a trainer to do their 3 sessions a week and to travel back, to go to the efforts of ordering the taxi and fitting that in with their busy travel schedule. People are more and more going to be training from their home environment, their home condo, or the nearest commercial gym to them. Though those who can invest in their health will understand the importance of working with someone who knows what they're doing. People value feedback on technique. People value having another set of eyes and seeing what they're doing, making sure that they're doing that to the best of their ability. The technique is efficient, their technique is effective, they're using the correct weights, rep ranges, rest periods, etc., etc. I'm going to predict there's going to be a shift in more and more people doing this from their own home and yet still using the guidance of a coach. And so that is one of my biggest predictions is coaches and PTs are going to have more worldwide and international demand, but the technologies we have today are going to make that more readily available to people who can't be there in person, whether because of their schedule, because they have back-to-back meetings, or just because they now live in a different part of the world. And so I'm noticing that myself with clients who have repatriated or moved to other countries, especially since the pandemic. Those clients are still coming back to me because they want to work with me. And the fact that I'm not in the same country as them is actually quite irrelevant. I got them great results before. They trust that I can get them great results again. And with, again, the right equipment at home or in your local commercial gym, this is something that's going to be explored and people are going to be more willing to explore time and time again. In saying that, we're going to see a shift away from high intensity classes. I'm noticing that people who value technique do not value group sessions. They do not value being in a group setting. They are not about doing something as fast as possible with as many people in the room as possible, with as little instruction as possible. And people are noticing the downside to that. They're getting injuries, they're getting tweaks. They don't feel supported. They don't feel as though they have sufficient input on their technique. They don't have sufficient feedback and criticism. And that's what keeps people feeling safe, is knowing that they're doing something correctly, having someone see what they're doing, having someone give them that feedback in class environments, and especially in a high, fast-paced training environment, people's needs are not being met. People are recognizing the dangers of doing fast-paced, high-intensity classes. And to be honest, it's just a very slow way to build muscle. And so if your goal is to get fit and toned, this is a really slow way to go about it. Why? Because you need to spend time under tension and create that mechanical tension in order to make the muscles essentially grow, to get stronger and to see them grow in size, right? That's how we get that definition. It's not by doing as many reps as you possibly can as quickly as possible. And it kind of goes against a lot of people's goals. So the approach and the method doesn't map to people's goals. So people are not only not getting the results that they want, they're also getting injured in the process, and they're feeling really unsafe and unsure in the process. And it's not very conducive, again, to what people are looking for. People want to feel safe, people want to feel supported, people want to make sure that they're getting feedback and input on their technique. People want to make sure that they can come back and do their class time and time again and feel safe, and that they're gradually progressing what they're doing. In a group class environment, there's no gauge on progressive overload. Chances are you're lifting the same weights you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago. Unless the instructor takes note of what weights you're lifting and encourages you to increase on that, I wouldn't be surprised if the weights are staying the same. And if the weights are staying the same, your results are going to show that, or lack of results are going to reflect that. So no shade to people who enjoy these classes. That's great. Again, I just don't think people understand how opposite of an approach it is to the goals that they have. And this is where people start to plateau. A lot of people who have tried group fitness classes, who have come to me, have been concerned about injury, who've experienced injury, or have felt that they're just starting to plateau. Again, this is why working with a trainer who can oversee the weights and reps that you're doing is super, super important to progress. We incorporate progressive overload into the programs that we write. We make sure you're lifting more each session or performing more reps each time, so that you can continue to enjoy those changes in the body composition, in the appearance, in your performance in each exercise. So my second prediction is that high intensity interval training is, thank you for being here, high intensity interval training classes, I think they've come, I think they've gone, I think they're on the way out. And I'm seeing that in Singapore, there's fewer and fewer outlets for these high intensity interval classes. I'm seeing a shift towards looking for coaches and looking for people who can help to integrate all of the lifestyle stuff that comes with creating those change. So that's my third prediction, is people are going to look for help integrating all of the healthy behaviors and habits that come with trying to create healthy change in their lifestyle. And this is not the job of a personal trainer. This is why people get stuck. This is why personal training is not enough for 99% of people to create the quote unquote body of their dreams, the body they desire, and to reach those aesthetic goals. Why? Not because they're not capable of getting there. It's because they really need support in building those healthy habits. And that takes time. And too few people understand this. And it's just not the job of a personal trainer to work with someone to build healthy habits. It's the job of a personal trainer to teach you good technique, to make sure your program is programmed appropriately. So according to your goals, according to your current strength, your current level of ability, your current mobility, to factor in any injuries you might have, and to get you really strong in the exercises that they run you through. And hopefully over time, that exercise library or vocabulary of sorts expands as you become more technically proficient. I, as a trainer, would start to include more and more exercises with the people I work with. I would expose them to more and more exercises over time. But again, that's a very narrow scope of practice. People come to personal trainers expecting them to do plastic surgery, basically. They're like, I want 2 centimeters off my arm, and I want 5 centimeters off my waist, and I want my hips to be, I want my ass to be 3 centimeters bigger, and I want my left ear to be a centimeter higher, and okay? This is what personal trainers are often on the receiving end of. And the general public doesn't actually know what PTs should and should not be doing. Personal trainers should be teaching you correct technique and getting you stronger in those exercises. Also improving your mobility, and of course being mindful of any restrictions you may have in terms of range of motion, mobility, injuries. But that's it. And that is just a very small component. That's one very small component to weight loss, to fat loss, to living a quote unquote healthy lifestyle, to being consistent. And this is why a lot of people do 10 sessions with a PT and think it doesn't work, and then they quit, and then they wait until their motivation is high again because they see a picture that they don't like of themselves, or because they see their parents struggling to do something and they think, I don't want that to be me. Or they jump on the scales and they see they've put on another 5 kilos, and suddenly the motivation spikes. Then they go, I'm going to do something about that. And then they try the next solution, which is usually, again, not a solution because it's not holistic enough. So more and more, my prediction is people are going to look for those who can help them integrate health with living. So building that healthy lifestyle. And the thing is, every single person has a very different lifestyle. There is no quote unquote right or wrong way to approach that. But having a coach who can guide you on how you can integrate the two is going to be critical. It's going to be a very highly sought after skill because our lives are only going to get crazier. We're only going to be stretched more and more and more. We're only going to have more demands put on us when it comes to splitting ourselves between work and life and play, fun, whenever that happens. And having a sounding board to go, what do I do when I'm invited to a wedding in Italy? And then I have to go to a business trip to London. And then I have to come back to Singapore for 2 weeks. And then I have to go off to the US. And then I'm going to stay there for a week and see my friends after my business trip. And then I come back to Singapore. And then I have late night calls for 2 months with Australia because there's a project happening there. Like, they're the questions people actually have. They're the questions that people genuinely need help answering. And they're the questions that a personal trainer is not answering or not addressing in their work with their clients because it's not their job. Okay. Like, I have to defend PTs here. It's not their job. Personal trainers have some sort of insight when it comes to understanding how to create behavioral change because they spend so much time with people who want to create that change. But personal trainers inherently don't study this at university or in their 6-week courses or in their 12-week courses. And I say that having a public health degree myself. So I have a degree in public health. I understand behavioral change. I understand social cognitive theory. Sorry, the caffeine's kicked in. I'm speaking faster than my brain is operating. So I genuinely get what it takes to create change. And people think that they're light switches. They think I can just turn off my desire for carbs and turn off my desire for alcohol and turn off my desire to self-sabotage and bippity boppity boop, I'm going to lose 10 kilos. And like, sorry, honey buns, that's not how it happens. Behavioral change takes a lot longer than you think. It takes at least, and I say this with love, but this is the science, so not my opinion, it's just black and white here, 66 to 250, which is 9 months, thereabouts, days to form one new habit. Yes, that long. That's really long, isn't it? It's longer than 21 days. They lied to you when they told you that, okay? That was a misinterpretation of data, or it was really poor source of data. That was never accurate. It's never been 21 days. It is 66 to 250 days to form one new healthy habit. And how many healthy habits do you think you need to form in order to become the healthier version of yourself? Think. It's going to, let me just turn off the fan in here. It's going to be probably increasing your vegetable intake, increasing your protein intake, making sure your carbs are taken before training, increasing your hydration, supplements, probably somewhere in there, magnesium, maybe protein powder, maybe creatine. That's 5 right there. Okay, spending more time standing than seated, or increasing your step count. So that's at least 6 habits. Probably sleep, because most people need help getting better sleep, more sleep, including myself. Hey, like, I'm no superior human in that element. So that's at least 8 habits right there that a person needs to form in order to build a solid foundation of healthy livingness. Okay, if that's a term. Maybe I just coined it. So healthy livingness is based off of those very basic elementary principles, habits, behaviors. How many adults actually do that? Yeah, because I can't think of anyone either. I mean, again, I do a pretty good job, but this is also my industry. And this is something that I've been practicing for a very long time. And I have a really good understanding of behavioral change and how to hack my own brain to create this change. Most people do not. Most people don't have much self awareness. And that doesn't help them to make any progress, hence why they employ a coach. So if we're thinking about trying to make progress on top of that baseline foundation layer, well, we've got to get a lot in place first. And again, that's not the job of a personal trainer. That's where you need a coach. You need a coach to help you integrate all these different elements of health and healthy living and healthy lifestyle in order to then get traction and build upon that. So typically the first 5 kilos are not lost before those foundational pieces are in place. And again, if we're talking about the foundation pieces, we're talking about sufficient sleep or good quality sleep. And that looks different for different people. I'm not the best at sleeping. I'm doing better these days. I still have room for improvement, okay? It's water. If you live in Singapore, if you spend a lot of time outdoors, if you exercise outdoors in Singapore, for an adult, that's 4 liters of water a day. I feel that has to be the number, because we just lose fluid so quickly. It's so steamy out there. And then if you go for a run outside, I mean, first of all, you're crazy. Second of all, like, forget about it. You're going to lose 1 kilo of sweat, and you think that it's okay to just drink 2 liters a day? No, honey buns, you have to replace that at a ratio of 2 to 1. Meaning, for every liter of water you lose through sweat, you can't just replace it with 1 extra liter. It's 2. Your body needs 2 to sufficiently replace it. Again, steps tying into running and standing, step count. So are you getting 3,000 steps a day? Are you sitting more than you're standing? That is a huge, huge, huge piece that I need people to work on in order to shift the needle on their goals. This is something I talked about in my previous recording, the 3 goals you need to move the needle on your health and fitness. So if you want to watch that, just scroll back. It should be on my 2nd or 3rd line of my feed. It was super recent, so make sure you check that out. Save it so you can refer back to it. That's a huge foundational piece. Protein, another goal I talked about in my previous live recording. You need to be getting 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of what you weigh per day. Most people are not even getting 1, okay? So again, this is not the job of a personal trainer. You might think that it is, but personal trainers don't have scope of practice when it comes to nutrition. They have very, very, very rudimentary scope. They can make very general suggestions, but they're no nutritionist, they're no dietitian. So it's not really their place to be writing meal plans. And I have a real gripe with meal plans in the first place, because they carry no educational component. You're not empowering people when you prescribe a meal plan. And eating is so personal. I really don't feel it's my place to tell someone how to eat. I like to observe how a person eats and then make tweaks. But in any case, this is another foundational piece. Sufficient protein intake, looking at your macronutrients and your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals. Are you consistently low in vitamin C, selenium, magnesium? How's your vitamin D intake? It's surprising how many people don't get enough vitamin D, even though they live on the equator, okay? So these foundational pieces, often personal trainers have clients come to them wanting help with these things, and I get that. That seems like the obvious person to help you with that, but it's not their job. It's really not. This is where you need a coach. And a coach's job is to not just educate, not just inform, but support you and empower you to integrate all these facts and all these things that we know we should do, but bite it down into bite-sized bits and make it really, really applicable and easy for you to integrate into how you live your life. Because no real point in any of us giving you information when it doesn't really complement the way that you live, okay? So how a person gets in enough protein in their diet when they're on 14-hour flights, 3 times 3 times a quarter, once every month, it might look a little bit different to how a stay-at-home mom gets enough protein in her diet, which might look a little different to how a teenager gets enough protein into their diet. So you start to see the gaps exist in the application. It's not the information. Rarely is it the application. And I was having a great conversation with a lady who I know from Singapore. She has since moved abroad and contacted me. We're going to be working together in August. What she was expressing as a point of frustration was there's too much information. In fact, lack of information is not the issue. It's the abundance of information, because there's all these tips and tricks and tools and approaches we can take. But unless you know what works for your situation, and unless you know what works for your goals, you can take all of those directions and go nowhere, quite honestly. And again, this is where people get frustrated. This is where people might make a little bit of progress, but then they plateau, or they feel like they're trying everything and they're just turning their wheels over, unable to get traction. They're like, I tried intermittent fasting, I tried keto, I tried HIIT classes, I tried lifting weights, I tried, and nothing really stuck. And having someone to filter through all of that information and all of those directions you could take and say, hey, I just want you to focus on these 2 things, get really good at applying these 2 things, and this is how we do it on busy days, and this is how we do it when we travel, and this is how we do it when children are having a stay over. Those real world, real life examples are exactly what people need help in applying. They need help in understanding, how do I adjust what I do in circumstances X, Y, and Z? That's what people really, really have as a problem. And that is a solution people genuinely need in this day and age. People know they should exercise. People know they should lift weights. Mostly, some people are afraid of being bulky for God knows what reason, as if it's that easy. Some people have a pretty good idea with regards to what they're eating, which is nourishing themselves, what they're eating, which is maybe not nourishing themselves, and what they're eating that's just straight up junk. Okay. Most people have a pretty good filter on that. What foods they quote unquote should eat, what foods they should quote unquote not eat, or avoid or stay away from, or at least reduce their intake of. Most people, again, because we have the information, because we have the knowledge, and the lack of information, again, is not the problem. It's the overabundance of information. People don't know how to apply this based on themselves, based on their circumstances. And so what people are really looking for, more and more so, is worldwide systems and solutions, what they can apply in different circumstances. Because again, getting enough protein in your diet is super, super important, but can you do that when you have a 14-hour flight? If you're getting on a 14-hour flight today, are you confident you know how to do that? Are you confident you know how to do that when you have a day full of meetings, where you're in meetings for 10, 12, 14 hours straight? Are you confident you know how to get enough protein in your diet? Do you know how much water you've had to drink today? Do you know how to get 4 liters of water if you're staying at home all day, if you're in office all day, if you're on a long haul flight today, if you're working out outside? Can you apply these principles and these foundational elements across circumstances? That's where people fall apart. That's what I'm noticing. That's where people fall apart. When their life is consistent and predictable, when they're in Singapore Monday through to Sunday for week after week after week, it's not so much of an issue. It's not so much of a challenge. The moment circumstances change, that's where people don't know how to get these things done. That's where they don't tick these foundational boxes. It's where their sleep goes off. When your sleep goes off, your food decisions go off. When your food decisions go off, the numbers on the scales tend to look a little different. Okay, that's not going to surprise anyone. So getting help in producing worldwide systems and processes that you can apply is what people more and more are going to be looking for and gravitating towards in becoming the healthiest version of themselves. So I've been talking really quickly and I'm getting a little thirsty. Now is a good time to have a little sip. If you've got water near you, please join me. Any questions, Drop them in the comment section if you're on Instagram. If you're on the other platforms, please just post it in the comments and I'll be sure to see that. I wanted to give a little recap. So the industry is changing more and more so. What I'm noticing is that HIIT classes have come, they're gone. I don't see that industry growing at the same rate that it has been. People are becoming injured. People are not getting specialized attention. People are feeling rushed. And because they're feeling rushed, they're feeling afraid that the technique is not sufficient and that they might hurt themselves. And again, a HIIT class is a very slow way to build strength and a very slow way to build muscle. Doing an exercise faster doesn't make it better. Doing an exercise better makes it better. Kind of goes without saying. And again, to create muscle definition and strength, you need to create mechanical tension. You can't do that if you're just rushing through a movement, okay? So that's my first prediction. Prediction 2, coaches before PTs. So more and more so, especially with the world becoming even more connected and globalized, and with all the new technologies in place and softwares in place, coaches who are able to create transformation is going to be more sought after than a local personal trainer. So someone who has a track record of creating lifestyle transformations is going to have a great reputation, and it's that reputation they've earned themselves, which is going to attract clients. And I'm seeing this for myself. Those who have moved abroad, who have repatriated or moved to other countries, particularly since the pandemic, are coming back to me and they're saying, well, how about we work together on Zoom? And it's completely possible. We're so familiar with video technology that it's not even a bat of the eyelid to put that together in a way that we can work with people and to get them those results that we get for our face-to-face clients. So those coaches are becoming the go-to in their industry, and they are going to be chosen time and time again over local personal trainers. People do not want to travel to a gym to exercise. People are more and more so going to want to stay in their condo, stay in their home gym, stay in their hotel room to exercise, but they're going to want to do it with instruction and support to make sure that their technique is correct, their form is correct. No one has time for injuries, especially people who travel a lot for exercise, people who have their own businesses. We're going to see more and more coaches be sought after to support what people are doing in their local training environment. And this is going to become the quote unquote new norm. So we're going to see less face-to-face on gym floor personal training and more via Zoom sessions or people recording their technique from a commercial gym, from their condo gym, from their hotel room, or from their just, bedroom, doing their own training and have a coach give them feedback on their video technique. I really feel that more and more so people need to maximize their time and their energy and situate their schedule in a back-to-back fashion where they can go from doing a workout in their living room to then being on a business call in their study, half an hour later. So we're only becoming busier. Everyone knows that, right? Our bandwidth is already super stretched. The only way to make more out of our time and get a greater return on our time is to be able to have that flexibility in terms of where we work out from and where we train from. And then the third thing is with these coaches, people are looking for worldwide systems and solutions. It's not more information. It's look at this ocean of information. Now you tell me what works for me based on my goals, my current level of ability, and my current lifestyle. That's where people really need help. That is the gap that people are looking to bridge and gap in working with a coach. Most people know what they should and shouldn't eat. And I use those terms loosely because it's not for me to judge, and everyone needs to be able to say yes to certain food and everyone needs to be able to say no to other foods. Okay, so we're all different, but by and large, people have a pretty good understanding of what constitutes healthy living and healthy lifestyle. We know that we should drink more water. We know that we should sleep more. We know that we should use the screens less. We know that we should get more, vegetables. We know that we should get, protein. Actually, I don't know how many people know that, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to get the message out there. We know that we shouldn't have too many carbs and too many high-fat foods. we have a pretty good overall understanding of what we should gravitate towards and what we shouldn't. So the problem doesn't lie so much in the information. Yes, there's misinformation, there's misinterpretation, there is some myths still to be broken and rewritten, perhaps. But by and large, the problem actually is an overabundance of information and people not knowing what to apply for themselves based on their lifestyles and based on their goals and based on their circumstances. Helping people put together strategies and processes that they can apply with ease that seamlessly integrates with their lifestyle is where the gold is going to be. And that's not the job of a personal trainer. No, personal trainer's job is not to understand behavioral change. That's the job of a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor, maybe arguably to a degree a health coach. And this is why I'm different. It's because I have a degree in public health and I actually studied this. And most personal trainers did not, nor should they have. That's just, again, that's not their job. So this is going to be the critical element in this industry. And one of the biggest shifts and one of the biggest changes is people seeking those who can put together real life practical solutions and getting them from A to B whilst not really having to change their lifestyle too much. Okay, so it's that seamless integration is going to be the critical part. That's where people are going to really thrive and flourish in receiving that help. And personal trainers are not going to cut it. Standalone nutritionists or dietitians are not going to cut it. It's really that coaching part, which is going to be more and more sought after, because again, this is where the change happens. And again, people more or less know what to do and what not to do. People know that they should go to the gym and lift things. But when your lifestyle involves 14-hour flights, looking after 2 children under 4, trying to get an education or, undertaking study, as well as working and everything else, how do you practically take any positive action towards creating that? So that is truthfully going to be one of the biggest shifts in coming years. And I'm seeing it for myself. I'm getting more inquiries for health coaching. I'm getting more people ask me but how do I do this? How do I make this happen? How do I do this in my meal prep? How do I make time to meal prep? What are some easy, quick recipes that my whole family likes that's high in protein? This is what people are coming to me for more and more so. So yeah, I hope that was insightful. This will be turned into a podcast, so keep your eyes open for that episode. It will be released in a few weeks, though of course you'll be able to grab it here from Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's at Team Laura Phillips, PHILLIPS. I'm verified. So cheers to that. I now have the blue tick. Thank you, Meta. And that should make it easy to find me. It is a bright Barbie pink background because why not? It is the season for Barbie to have her moment and I'm here for it. So if you wanted to replay this, make sure you save it from Instagram and make sure you find me if you're not following me. It's at Team Laura Phillips. If you want the recording once it is a podcast, please just leave your email in the comments and I'll make sure I get a copy of that over to you. Any suggestions for future topics? I'm all ears. I always want to talk about what is of value and importance to you. So do feel free to reach out and give me those suggestions. And until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next live recording. Please have an amazing day and I'll talk to you soon.